To hear that the plight of the poor has worsened over the last few years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and democracy have not been met. It has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice and humanity. Now, every year at about this time, our newspapers and our televisions and people in general start talking about the long, hot summer ahead. And what always bothers me is the fact that the long, hot summer has always been preceded by a long, cold winter. And the problem is the nation hadn't done enough with its winters. It has not used its winters creatively enough to develop the programs and the massive concern that will solve the great problems that we face. And so it is necessary to say that our nation's summers of riots are still caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as justice is postponed, we will always have the possibility of these dark days of social disruption.
Oh man, I hope I have enough money to do this dinner tonight. But, well, I don't know. We'll just have to make it work, Rocio. Oh man. Why am I always stressed about money? Oy, oy, oy. But, oh, there's Sheba. I do want to hang out with my friend. Guess I gotta keep up appearances. But why am I feeling so much pressure to keep up appearances? I don't know, it's probably the media. Media is always pushing stuff on people.
I just don't understand. Why don't more people understand they're poor?
By the way, I'm in this race because I care about Americans. I'm not concerned about the very poor. We have a safety net there. If it needs a repair, I'll fix it. I'm not concerned about the very rich. They're doing just fine. I'm concerned about the very heart of America, the 95% of Americans who right now are struggling, and I'll continue to take that message across the nation.
All right, I know I said last question, but I got to ask you. You just said, I'm not concerned about the very poor because they have a safety net. And I think there are lots of very poor Americans who are struggling who would say, that sounds odd. Can you explain that?
Well, you had to finish the sentence, Soledad. I said, I'm not concerned about the very poor that have a safety net, but if it has holes in it, I will repair them.
Got it. Okay.
The challenge right now, we will hear from the Democrat Party the plight of the poor. And there's no question, it's not good being poor, and we have a safety net to help those that are very poor. But my campaign is focused on middle-income Americans. My campaign, I mean, you can choose where to focus. You can focus on the rich. That's not my focus. You can focus on the very poor. That's not my focus. My focus is on middle-income Americans, retirees living on Social Security, people who can't find work. Folks that have kids that are getting ready to go to college. These are the people who've been most badly hurt during the Obama years. We have a very ample safety net, and we can talk about whether it needs to be strengthened or whether there are holes in it, but we have food stamps, we have Medicaid, we have housing vouchers, we have programs to help the poor. But the middle-income Americans, they're the folks that are really struggling right now, and they need someone that can help get this economy going for them.
I've been told so many lies about who I am and how I ought to live. Obviously, someone doesn't want me to know about myself. This is going to be a long walk. Those lies that I'm told, they act as if they're natural or obvious. All this time I was poor and didn't know. Their values have become my values. And I'm not sure that cycle will ever end. After all, the rich benefit ostensibly on the backs of the working class. I guess I'll just wait here for her.
Hey, buddy. Hey, what's going on? Good. How are you?
Good. I'm hungry.
I am too. Let's eat. Where's
shall we go?
Somewhere cheap.
Alright.
I'm so grown.
Me too.
Well, how do you feel about chachas?
Tacos is good, plus they have, there's like a happy hour right now, so
That's
we should
true.
probably get some appetizers for like half off or something. So let's go.
All right.
So Shiva, did you know that 152 million people are poor in this country?
No, I didn't know that at all. But I mean, it's not surprising. Most people don't know they're poor.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a false consciousness perpetuated by the media.
Oh, totally. You know, that really reminds me of what Gramsci said on hegemony.
Oh, what did he say?
He talked a lot about ideologically how through a hegemonic culture, people who have more money, basically, or bourgeoisie, if you will, they perpetuate their values through media institutions, and it becomes everyone else's values.
Yeah.
I mean, one example is like, you know, I have an iPhone, but I'm very poor. I'm broke most of the time, you know. But, you know, this iPhone is a symbol of somebody else's, what, you know, somebody who has more money. It's a symbol of their culture, not of mine.
Yeah.
But I adopted it nonetheless because of, you know, advertising, media. Someone told me I should have it. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think another example is something like, you know, when people, when they go from like being poor to being rich, you know, they start to buy all sorts of stuff. They're buying like multiple cars, and then it just kind of trickles down because the media shows this off, and they show like, oh, so and so just bought, you know, $500,000 watch. And then, you know, that's what people aspire to. That's what people see as success.
Exactly.
Like, if I have 20 cars in my driveway, then I'm successful. But it's not necessarily your own choice about success or what success is. It's something that's already been set up for you by someone else, you know?
No, you're very right. You know?
I think a lot of it is, it just really kind of like exemplifies how much power media does have. Because, I mean, yeah, these people could have all these things, but nobody would know about it unless, you know, Star Magazine didn't publish it, or the Today Show didn't talk about it every morning.
Exactly.
So I think that's really interesting.
I think the media is a perfect example also of an oligarchical society or culture. You know, you have 5 big companies running all these other media outlets, all the, you know, so it appears as if we have choice, and we don't.
Right.
But it also shows us that these 5 people are controlling all the values and all the things that, you know, we're constantly, you know, sensory information from TV, journalism, whatever.
Right.
All of that, they're controlling that.
Well,
5 people, 5 companies.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of scary about that is that number, even that small number, it's small already, but that's even dwindling, you know?
Yeah.
You have all these, like, conglomerates and mergers, and, you know, it just ends up making these media institutions become smaller and smaller and owned by less and less people, in which case, you know, if you really think about it, like you said, you know, we don't really have a lot of choice in what we're told.
Yeah. We're told to value
Well, and I think the other thing is, like,
how we should live, all of that.
it starts to limit our choices, right? Because, sure, we still have a choice. We can either read it or not. But that's not much of a choice.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. Well, are you ready to get the check?
Yep.
Let's blow this taco stand. All right.